Okay. Close to me. So a very good morning to one and all present here. On behalf of Janssens Institute of Technology, I would like to welcome you all for the webinar session on campus to corporate transmission. So today we will be having our chief guest, Mr. Gopala Krishnan, with us for this session, for handling this session. So I would like to welcome all participants on behalf of Janssens Institute of Technology, and I want to introduce our today's guest, Mr. Gopala Krishnan. He is a human resource leader who has 17 years of core HR experience and has rich experience in talent acquisition, designing and implementing performance appraisal of organization and handling HR operations for businesses. He had been a coach and mentor for employees and freshers who are coming out of college. Over a period of last decade, he has established himself as a result-oriented and efficient leader in the HR space. He has played key roles as a change manager in understanding organizational behavior and implementing policies. So once again, on behalf of Janssens Institute of Technology and Department of Computer Science and Engineering, I would like to welcome you, sir. So with this short note, I would like to hand over the session to Mr. Gopala Krishnan. Sir, you may proceed. Hello? Raju, வருதல்ல ஸ்ட்ரீம் வருதல்லன்னு கேளு. Okay, okay. ஸ்ட்ரீம் வருதா? ஓகே ஓகே இப்போ ஓகே ஓகே அதை நான் இன்ட்ரடக்ஷன் பண்ணிட்டு ஒரு செஷன் ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணிட்டாரு. அந்த யூடியூப் இல்ல அவர் வந்து இது ரெண்டுமே வேணுங்கிறாரு. சரி அப்ப அது யூஸ் பண்ணிக்கலாம். எதையா? அந்த சைடுல இருக்குல்ல. அது இந்த டாட் தான் ஒரு ஃபர்ஸ்ட் ஸ்லைட் ஆகும். நல்லது. சப்பா சாமி 11:30 ஆயிடுச்சு. சரி இப்போ நம்ம வேலை என்னன்னா அந்த யூடியூப் இப்போ இது வந்து இதுதான் விண்டோ கேப்சர் தான் கொடுத்துருக்கோம். அப்படியே விட்டுருங்க, ஒன்றும் பிரச்சனை இல்லை. மவுஸ் இன்கால் அப்படியா? இன்கால்னேட்டோ போனோம்னா நம்ம அங்கே போய் அந்த விஷயம் அதில் கேட்டுக்கலாமா? இதுல சார்ஜ் எடுத்துக்கோ, ஆன் பண்ணி விட்டேன். அந்த ஸ்கிரீன்ல பாருங்களேன். இல்லையா? கேட்டுட்டு கேக்குது. அப்புறம் யூடியூப்ல கேட்க மாட்டீங்களா? இப்போ கேட்கலான்னு பாருங்க யூடியூப்ல. இப்போ யூடியூப்ல கேட்கலான்னு பாருங்க. நம்ம போய் கேட்குறோம். போயிட்டு கால் பண்றேன்.
Okay, there are a lot of apprehensions, right? That's a reality, right? As it is, there is always a pressure with each one of you when it comes to placements, right? Campus placement is a crazy thing, right? uh, Now corona has added to the entire problem of campus placements in every college, right? Jansen's is not an exception, right? Every reputed institute in India is going through a crisis where we are staring at whether we'll be able to place all of our students or not, right? Worry for not only for each one of you students, but also is a big worry for the college management, right? Every college in India is looking at how we can improve corporate ties, so on and so forth, so that we still will be able to place the students in the skill set they want, in the company that they want to work with maybe few compromises and so on and so forth. That is the exact scenario here, right? Now, why do you fit in as freshers? Right? How much it has impacted to you? Because this is a computer science engineering group. So let me bring back the attention to the IT industry. Right? Now, how much is the IT industry impacted because of Corona? Unlike aviation or manufacturing or retail industry or entertainment industry, which are worst affected, IT industry is not that affected. So that's a good news for all of you in this webinar, right? But whether there is an impact, there is an impact. What is the impact? Okay, one, many colleges have postponed their exams, are still trying to figure out when we should conduct the exams, and if at all we are conducting exams. So a lot of debates around it. Accordingly, corporates like us have sort of revisited our campus strategies, right? Okay, so if we are supposed to come to Janssen, say this month, we are saying, okay, given that there is this impact of corona, there is this exams getting postponed in many colleges in India, we are coming to you after 6 months, or this year we are not going to visit campuses, right? So there are different decisions that corporates are taking, and that's going to affect each one of you uh, in this group, right? Okay, especially the people who are in the fourth year, okay, or the third year, who have completed third year going into the fourth year. How is it going to be next year? Now, if companies are not going to visit campuses or companies are not going to provide job opportunities for freshers, how would you differentiate yourself in this current situation for you to be in the top performing category, which will fetch you a job, right? So that's where I am coming back to the topic of campus to corporate transition on what are those 2 3 things that you should do. Not only this is not only for the fourth year students, but equally important for the first and the second and the third year students. Okay, for you to resharpen your skills. Okay, for you to resharpen the axe, so that you remember the woodcutter and the axe story, right? Okay, so that you will sail through the current situation much more smoother. There is already a challenge, there is already a pressure from a fresher perspective, right? But this is an added challenge. This is where we are currently. Okay, so what is it that you will have to do possibly in the next 6 to 1 year if you are a third year student? Okay, what is it that you have to do if you're a fourth year student just looking out for a job opportunity, right? For third year and fourth year, it's very important. For first year and second year, you have time in your hand, right? Okay. Now you can do a lot of things in the next 2 to 3 years for you to be equipped, okay, to be corporate ready. Now, what do I mean by corporate ready? I'm going to talk about it, okay, shortly, okay. But it's important that I give you enough inputs and share a good amount of information in the next 45 minutes or so that even if you pick up one or two things from what I am talking about from my experience, right? It is definitely going to help you in the long run, right? So that's where I would actually move to the story here. Okay. This is the story that I'm going to tell you. Very, very familiar story for all of you. The story is of that of this gentleman. Okay. I'm sure iconic images a couple of years back. Okay. Who's this is none other than the Bahubali, right? And versus Bahubali versus who? Balal Dev. Okay. So Bahubali versus Balal Dev. Why am I putting this slide? Why am I going to narrate this story through Bahubali lens or a Balal Dev lens? I'll come to that. What is it that, in fact, I want to post a question here, Vivek, if you can help me to, put this question out to the students. What is the difference? I mean, all of you had seen this movie, both the versions, right? Bahubali 1 and 2. Okay. What is the difference between Bahubali and Balal Dev? Can anyone try to attempt this question? Vivek, do you think you can put this question to the group? Or now that you all would have heard my question, Vivek, if you could, if you have any answers, I would rather want to see some answers which are coming through, if it is possible. Okay, so I think I will sort of skip it. Just a second. Okay, so why have I put this as part of my campus to corporate transition story, right? I talked about skill sets, I talked about attitude, and I talked about aptitude, right? These are the three keywords that I spoke about. Now, I will pick, okay, attitude as a first point, okay? Attitude is nothing but the values that you demonstrate in your daily life, okay? In the corporate world, in the campus world, in your daily life, right? Your parents keep teaching you the values from your childhood. It is not new. What I am talking currently is not new. Values, they would not have called it as values. They would not have put a nomenclature there as values, but they would have said, okay, this is how you should behave. This is how you should have discipline, right? This is how you should speak to people around. Okay, this is how you should groom yourself, right? That is what I am talking about, values. Now, between these two characters in the movie, we all would know both of these characters are equally very strong, okay, well equipped technically, if I use the word, right? Well equipped, they have the equal technical capabilities. They have, they they came with flying colors in all the tests that the queen, I call the queen as a performance manager here, right? The manager of these two people, right? So all the tests that the queen had given, they came with flying colors. So she's not able to actually differentiate at one point in time whom I should actually make a king, right? So she will be confused and she will give a final test. What is the final test? The enemy is coming to attack the kingdom. You both will have to protect, but at the same time, you will have to protect our citizens as well, right? Okay. And she would have also given some guidelines on how you should kill the enemy. Okay. She should have told both of them that you should not kill the enemy, you should capture the enemy and bring him back to me, right? So if you remember Bahubali 1, okay, Bahubali would have followed the exact guidelines of the queen, that is the manager, right? He would protect citizens and at the same time he will win the enemy. But Balaldev would never protect citizens. You would remember that scene where Balaldev would actually even kill his own citizens and move forward in the war front to kill the enemy, right? And he would have, and both of them would get an opportunity to kill the enemy. First, in fact, Bahubali will get that opportunity, but he will remember his mother's words and he will not kill the enemy. At the same time, Ballal Dev would never remember his mother's words. He will go ahead and kill the enemy, right? So these are two different characters. Both are equally strong, top performers when it comes to uh, technical capabilities, skill sets, but they have different values. Bahubali has got a superior value, which is as per the expectations of the queen of the kingdom. Balal Dev did not possess that value, which is expected out of a to be anointed king, right? So that's the difference that I'm talking about with respect to values. Now, how much values are important in our daily life? Absolutely no questions asked. It is important. Your professors and your lecturers keeps talking about it in different forms, be it discipline or be it the integrity that you have to bring into the focus and so on and so forth, right? This is a very key element of campus to corporate transitions. Every corporate has a certain set of values that we expect you to demonstrate at the interview stage and after you joining us, right? So that's why this gains important. Now, let me explain this further through the lens of Bahubali, right? One of the important values that we expect is that you should be leading by example, okay? Classic case of Bahubali leading the uh, entire thousands of soldiers by taking complete accountability, right? And motivating people around. At some one point in time, the Bahubali and the soldiers were about to fail. A lot of the enemy would actually move forward and kill a lot of Bahubali soldiers, and everyone would be demotivated after seeing a lot of people dying. At the same time, he will give a motivational speech to the soldiers, and then everyone will get motivated and sort of win the war for Bahubali, right? So there is a leader in him, and people trusted him completely in the war, right? Even though everyone knows that they're going to die, but at the same time, they are actually with Bahubali as a leader and trying to help him win the war, and that's what eventually he did as well. So one of the important quality that we expect from you, when you join us, is how much have you led by example? Now, led by example, it could be anything that you do in campus, right? You are probably your association secretary. You have taken the role of an association secretary, or you are organizing the college first for computer science engineering department. What are the initiatives that you have taken, right? That is nothing but lead by example, right? So you are leading by example as a student for other students, as well as importantly for your juniors, right? It's the same relationship in a corporate world as well. You lead by example as a senior for a set of juniors working under you, right? So this is one characteristic or a quality that any corporate would expect. Now, it is easy for you to practice in college itself, right? Okay, some of you would be absolutely brilliant in studies, so your percentage of marks will show, right? You are leading by example for others who would want to sort of imitate you, right? Okay, somebody else is not good in studies, but you are absolutely brilliant in studies, and it's because of your hard work, right, that you are getting 95 percentage. So that is lead by example. Now, someone else will not be college topper, but at the same time, equally contributed from an extracurricular activities. It might be you might be a district level champion in cricket, or you have won so many paper presentations contest, uh, within the Tamil Nadu circle, right, or within the Coimbatore circle. Now, that is also lead by example, right? It is not only studies. How much of leadership qualities that you are actually demonstrating while you are in college, right? That is an important aspect that we would actually look at. So let me move to the next important quality, and I will explain again through the lens of Bahubali, right? Respect the individual. Now, this is another iconic character which became very famous in that movie, right? I'm sure you would all remember this character, refreshing your memory. This guy's name is Katapa, very famous character. Now, look at the kind of camaraderie or the friendship that Bahubali and Katapa shared in the movie, even though Katapa is the commander for Bahubali. They are not equals. Please remember, they are not equals. Equals are only kings, right? So, Katapa is obviously the senior commander for Bahubali, but the way in which Bahubali treats Katapa through the movie, the way in which Bahubali trusts Katapa, the way in which Bahubali respects him as an individual is actually his leadership quality, right? So the next one here is respect the individual, right? Now, again, nothing new, right? Are we really practicing it in our daily life is what we should question ourselves, right? Okay, keeping our egos aside, keeping our enmity aside, right? Okay, we all know that, okay, these five people in this particular department are very good in programming, right? Okay, and they also know that they are very good in programming, right? Programming is not everyone's cup of tea, right? Five people might be very good in programming, another 10 people would take some time to do some programs, right? And so they have their own strengths. Everyone plays with their strength. But the five people who are very, very good in programming, who won various contests across, district level or, Tamil Nadu circle, whether they are really respecting others, whether they are really helping others, okay, telling that, okay, these are the 10 things that I did, which made me a very good programmer, right? Or whether they are actually arrogant and not really minding people around them, or they are not even really looking at how they can actually impart that knowledge that they have gained to colleagues who are in the fourth year or the juniors who are in the third year and second year, right? So that's where respect to the individual is a very important quality that you should possess. And this is something that we usually do as Indians, but the kind of influence that we have now, be it the social media, be it Instagram and Twitter and whatnot, okay, this seems to be taking a beating, okay, which I see it in the corporate world as well, that if there is no respect to an individual, I am telling you that individual is not going to trust you, that individual is not going to come along with you with your success, right? So it could be students and staff relationship, right? Okay, it could be senior junior relationship in college, it could be an employee employer relationship that we have, right? If you respect that individual, obviously you will listen to that person, and listening skills is a very, very important aspect when you respect an individual, right? You might not be interested in a topic, the person who's in front of you talking, but you should still respect that individual for his views and give it a patient listening, right? And timely rewards, this is a given, okay? I'm sure there are a lot of discipline around this in your college, right? That's going to help you in this transition to corporate. And if you have deadlines, it's very, very important for you to meet those deadlines. It could be, you would have seen it in the projects that you would have done. You would have seen it in the college firsts or the association, programs that you would have conducted. How important is timely rewards, right? See, your skill set and the aptitude is there. What I'm talking about is some of the softer aspects will have to be absolutely spot on, which will actually fetch you a job, right? And even if you want to be an entrepreneur at some point in time, tech entrepreneurs, there are a lot of tech entrepreneurs coming out, these days, right? Timely rewards, meeting deadlines is very, very crucial. If we miss deadlines, we know what will happen. I'm sure you would have seen it in your college in your own way, right? If you miss deadlines of assignments, what happens? If you miss deadlines of your college fest paper submission date, what will happen, right? So there is going to be a ramification, there is going to be an impact, negative impact, if you miss deadlines. Now this is something that we test when we interview candidates as well, right? When we interview freshers like you, are you actually able to give us some examples of respect the individual? Are you able to demonstrate two, three instances where you have actually reverted timely to your professors or to your various other stakeholders in the college? Okay, so this is what respect to the individual is all about, right? So let me move to the next value, which again I see it through the lens of Bahubali. This is a very classic one, right? Simple one: work together as a team. I obviously need not explain this at all in detail. Okay, only if you work in team, only if you demonstrate the teaming skills, right, you're going to first get a job, right, and also move forward in your career growth, right? So just look at an IT industry that you all are aspiring to be in, right? You have so many roles. You have design engineers to project managers to architects to team leaders to delivery team guys to various support teams and eventually client. What an IT company like an Infosys is working for their clients, because the clients are paying them money, right? And if the clients are not paying Infosys money, Infosys will not be able to pay to their employees. Give and take, right? Teamwork is very crucial. Again, looking at the example of Bahubali movie, you would know that Bahubali has planned, Bahubali had trusted his commanders, Bahubali had trusted his soldiers completely, and he had given clear direction to the team on how we should execute certain tasks in the war front and how we should win the enemy, right? The speed of execution is the key here, right? Working together, you would have again seen it in your college first. You would have had those committees where all of you would have taken a role, right, in your college first. It could be getting advertisements for your college magazine, or it could be organizing a committee, as part of organizing committee, looking at the time management aspects. So there are a lot of things. Even if one of you fail, I'm sure everyone is going to fail, right? And the college first would have had a ramification or an impact. So that is what I'm talking about, the importance of working together as a team, which is a very important value that we expect from you. The more you demonstrate in your college life in terms of working together, the better it is, right? So that is something which is there as a value. And the next one is communicating openly and honestly. Again, through the lens of these iconic characters, if I have to explain, through these three characters, the Queen, Shivakami, Bahubali, and Balaldev, right? Simple questions: what you know, how much you know, and actually, are you right? Okay? Ask yourself this question. Now, if these questions were asked by these three individuals in the movie, okay, the rift between Bahubali and Balaldev would not have happened. The the queen would have understood the communication from both of them, right? But Ballal Dev is not a team worker, right? You know that very well in the movie. Ballal Dev was never a team man, right? His only greed is to get the throne by hook or crook, and hook or crook won't work in any circumstances, right? That was what is proven in the movie. So as long as you communicate openly and honestly. Now what does it mean? I mean, it's all beautiful English words out here, but what does it actually mean for each one of you is that the litmus test is, even if you make a mistake, are you the first person to raise your hands and say, yes, I made the mistake, I am taking accountability for this mistake, I will not repeat this mistake? Do we really have that courage to do that? If you do that, I am sure your manager or your professor or your lecturer or all the people who are guiding you in your career will respect you for that. At the same time, if you are actually hiding some facts for your own personal benefit and not playing the teaming skills which I explained to you, that's where the problem is, right? You would not actually move on in your career if you have those sort of skills which you demonstrate, which are actually negative skills, right? So this is an important quality: communicate openly and honestly. And the last but not least, needless to say, act with utmost integrity at any point in time. Okay, don't give an opportunity for people around you to question your integrity. What is the integrity? There is no 90 percentage integrity, there is no 100 percentage integrity, right? It is always 100 percentage integrity. People should know that you will speak the truth and you will stand for the truth. And that is where I have put in this here, saying intent before content, right? You would be very, very good in Java or Python, which is the most sought out language now, right? But just imagine if you are not trusted because people know that your intentions are not right. Okay, then you will not, your technical skills are not going to take you. Your technical skills might get you a job, right? But moving forward in your career as a leader, if you really want to emerge as a technology leader, that's not going to help you. So your intentions are very important. You should all the time stick to the integrity that we live for, right? Without integrity, our life is zero, right? Technical capabilities of yours today will be irrelevant in 2 years, right? We talked about C and C++ when we studied engineering, which was 15, 17 years back. But now nobody is talking about C, right? Nobody was talking about all those languages which are absolutely super hit 20 years back. We are now talking about Python and Kotlin and so on and so forth, right? But what stands 20 years back or even now is the integrity of the individual. That is what uh, the respect that a person gets because of the integrity. So with that, now the question to the group here is, would you be really hired if you have these values? Okay. Just checking the time. I am also cognizant of the time. Okay, we have half an hour to go, so we should be we are on track. Okay, so I spoke about integrity. I spoke about working together as a team. I spoke about respect to the individuals. Are all these qualities good enough for you to land up in a very good job with a plum salary package? Or is it something more that is there in place, right? This is again another point that I wanted you to think through and see how much you are actually executing some of these things now in your college, which is actually going to help you, way forward, right? So the answer to this question, I would have loved to ask you this question and hear some answers, but I think because of this technological limitations, I'm not able to do that. So hence I am giving away the answer for you. The answer is a clear no, right? You will not be hired only if you have these values. These values are at most important. no doubt about it. But anyone who want to look at a corporate role or a software engineer role, right, as a fresher, there are some more things that we look at. Now, why these some more things? Please understand, supply of software engineers is more than the demands. Okay, so that's a unique problem, right? Now, there are so many IT companies, no doubt about it. They all need people like you and capable people like you. But at the same time, whether their demands are more than the supply, the answer is an unfortunate no, right? So hence, if say 5 lakh engineers are coming out of Tamil Nadu engineering colleges every year, and the sum total of the corporate jobs for fresh IT engineers are only 3 lakhs, right? For the 2 lakh people, obviously they have to be eliminated in the interview process, right? So that is where there are certain other skill sets that we expect, which you should be actually really performing some of those in the 4 year of your golden period in the college, right? So that is what I will come to. What is it in you, right? Like how you ask that question typically to a company, or a or a employer, right? Okay, who is going to give you a job? Obviously you will ask that question, how much salary package that I am going to get, right? The employer will ask you a question back, what is it in you for me to give you a 5 lakh package every year, right? Or a 10 lakh package? Very important question for you to reflect upon. Okay, over the weekend, it's a good time that probably that we decided to do this webinar Saturday morning, so you have time to reflect. But and I humbly request you to reflect upon, you have an expectation. Okay, you have a salary expectation from an employer. At the same time, please realize and appreciate the fact that the employer also will have an expectation from you. That is when the employer expects certain skill sets and aptitude and attitude from you, right? Let us look at this. Okay, obviously when I just put this particular image itself, you would know that I am talking about Apple brand, right? It's a no-brainer for anyone who is just looking at these pictures. These are again iconic pictures, right? It's a no-brainer that this is Apple, and I am talking about iPhone, right? iPhone as a product. Now just imagine, right? iPhone came into the world in 2007, 13 years before, right? When iPhone came to India, I still remember one iPhone, which is a basic level iPhone, right? Basic phone, okay, costed about 35-40,000. I am talking about 2007, right? So just imagine the money value of that 35,000 13 years back, right? Now that 35,000 might not be a great amount, but in 2007 it was a big amount, especially for a mobile phone, right? So 2007 iPhone was launched, okay, in the world and across India. I think in India it came a little later. And after 10 years, in 2017, iPhone X was launched. Okay. And can you guess the cost of an iPhone X? It was a lakh rupee, right? It varies, maybe 90,000 to 1.2 lakhs from a basic level version to a higher version, right? Okay. Now, whether it was in 2007 or in 2017, iPhone is iPhone. It has got its market, right? Have you ever wondered, anyone who's a techie and who's interested in mobile technologies, I'm sure you would follow some of these superb some of these companies, right? Have you ever wondered what has really differentiated this iPhone for customers to pay so much of money? Even in 2007 customers paid, even in 2017 customers paid. Okay, If it never mattered what was the cost of the iPhone. Okay, so if Vivek is around, I wanted to pose this question to the group. uh, you know, what is that one word which had actually differentiated this great brand from other mobile phones? Vivek, do you think you can get some answers for this question? Vivek, are you there? Okay, unfortunately, I will have to obviously give away the answer for this as well. Um, iPhone is a brand. Just 1 second. Okay, the one word which differentiated iPhone from every other brand in the world is aspirational. Okay, iPhone as a brand is aspirational. What do I mean by aspirational? It's again another English new good word, right? Aspirational means, given the quality product of iPhone, it has become an aspirational brand that people want to possess, right? If you have an iPhone, it is a you are it's a prestigious thing for you, right? You earn it. Okay, if it's an aspirational brand that you want to earn it, right? Not many people were possessing iPhone, right? Even today, if you look at people who actually bought iPhone, wanted to keep only iPhone as a mobile phone, right? Though there are so many good phones which have come in the market, flooded with phones, but still an iPhone customer is always an iPhone customer. He or she would not look at buying any other phone, right? Because it is an aspirational brand. So why am I talking about this? You need to be an aspirational brand in itself, right? If you are a computer science engineer coming out of Janssens, right? What is it that it takes for an employer to offer you a job, right? Whether the employer is seeing you as an aspirational brand like an iPhone, how can you be an iPhone, right? How can you become an iPhone kind of an iconic brand? Okay, what are the differentiators that you should possess as against 10,000 other students who would come out every year from different colleges, right? So that is what differentiates. Be an aspirational brand for yourself and you see the difference. Do whatever you do, make sure that there is a clear end goal in your mind. Okay, you are aspiring to that quality objective. Okay, and that would become your differentiator. So just remember this iPhone example when you are talking about developing yourself, right? Now, so I talked about values. I talked about you as a brand, how you should actually develop yourself as a brand. Okay, but would that be 1 second? Yeah. Would that be good enough for you to fetch a job in the corporate, right? Would that be good enough for you to do a smooth transition from your campus when you finish your engineering? Answer is no. There are certain expectations that we have, right? Very simple expectations, but very, very important expectations. So we are talking about you as a brand, right? Now, when we are talking about each individual as a brand, you have to be true to yourself, right? You shouldn't be somebody else. You have your own strengths, you have your own development areas or improvement areas, right? Just be true to yourself, right? That is first point. I for details. Okay, I will give you an example in my next slide. Okay, here I really wanted Vivek, are you there? 1 second, let me call Vivek in his mobile and see whether I can get him. Vivek, I actually wanted to put a question. Would you be able to get some answers for this? Can you see the slide? You can, right? Okay. Now, the question that I wanted to ask the group is for them to figure out two mistakes. So this is a CV. Okay, I have just taken a portion of a CV of an individual, and there are two mistakes in the CV. Okay, I just wanted the people who are in this webinar to tell me which are those two mistakes. Huh. Sure, sure. Yeah. Okay. So, team, I'm just giving it a pause here. I wanted some answers from you. So, as I was telling Vivek, there are two mistakes in this CV.
You are now
Okay.
muted.
Let us see whether you are able to identify those two mistakes, and then I will tell you why I'm putting this here.
You are now unmuted.
Vivek, have you got any responses? So I wanted you to identify two mistakes in this CV. Okay, so I think I'll move forward given the paucity of time. Okay. Vivek, if it's taking time, let's move forward. I'm okay with it. Yeah. Okay, fine. So, one of the important point I just want to mention to all of you here in this group is how do you actually prepare your CV, right?
You are now muted.
Okay, your CV obviously is the reflection. Your CV should be a true reflection of yourself, right? Now, what happens is when we prepare CVs as students, right? Okay, five of you friends come together. Okay, one of them will already have a CV. Okay, your resume, and let's say, okay, this person's CV is looking good. Let's copy paste all the contents of the CV. Okay, second person will copy paste the exact CV of the first person, change his name, change his father's name, change his date of birth, right? and maybe tweak some things around the school that he studied, which will be different from the first person, and some college, some percentages, right? This is an example of how you should never prepare a CV for yourself, right? Don't you? I know you all are. I mean, as students, in fact, we were also very good in group studies, but for group studies, for passing your exams, for completing assignments, you can do group studies. But when it comes to preparing your CV, don't do group study and prepare your CV. Okay? Very, very important for you to reflect on your true self, prepare your CV accordingly, right? Point number one. That is what I meant by true to yourself when you prepare your CV. And also in the interview, you should be true to yourself. So I will talk about it in a minute, right? Now, I for details, right? It is nothing but the quality deliverables that you're providing, right? People knows that you will never make any mistakes, be it in your assignments or be it in your writings or whatever you present. It is well researched, it is well articulated, okay, and you will not even find a spelling mistake, right? That is what is called as eye for details. Now, what I wanted to ask is this question which I've put in here. This is the portion of the CV which I have picked up, okay. One is this gentleman, okay, is claiming one of his strengths in the CV to be eye for details. But look at the spelling of details, right? It is an oxymoron, right? One hand, this gentleman is saying that I have a very good eye for details. What do you mean by eye for details? As I already explained, you will never make any mistakes in the documents that you submit, or you always have a very good view on things around you, right? Your intuitions are very strong. But look at the point here, right? While the person had mentioned his strength as eye for details, the spelling of details itself is wrong. Now, how can anyone trust him and his strength when he claims that he has good eye for details? Okay, when there is a spelling mistake in the eye for details itself, right? So that's the point I am driving, right? If you're claiming that you're very good in something, you better be very good at it, right? Otherwise, don't claim, right? That's a simple rule. And it is also true to yourself, right? Now, the second mistake in the CV is why I'm saying this. I'm just giving you an example because CV, preparing a CV in itself is an art, right? You need to put the true reflection of your personality, your skill sets in the CV, right? Your CV, if you're putting some lies in your CV, that's not going to fly, right? Okay. Now just imagine this other mistake. I don't know how many of you have identified, right? The date, the CV is dated 12th of March 2015, right? And the CV also talked about the programming language Kotlin version 1.0. Okay, so the third project that the person had listed, where that person has done Kotlin version 1.0 and SQL Server 2014. Okay, this is the project that the person had claimed in the CV, but the person never realized that Kotlin version 1.0 was launched in 2016 only, 2016. There was never a Kotlin programming language before 2016, at least the official version, right? And the CV is dated 2015. Now, just imagine, right, the starking ignorance of this person, this individual, when he had prepared the CV. This clearly shows that this person has never done Kotlin programming language in his life, right? Because he would not have done this store management project using Kotlin as a language. And the Kotlin version 1.0 itself came only in 2016, right? So these two mistakes I just wanted to point out, uh, only to tell you that how important is preparing your CV, you need to spend enough of time. Especially, I'm talking about the fourth year students here and the third year students who are going to be again in another year. You will be in the job market. It's very important for you to sit back, reflect upon what are you actually putting as strengths in your CV. Please mention your strengths which you know that it is your strength, and your professors or lecturers would have told you that it is your strength, right? Don't copy paste strengths and weaknesses from other CVs. I mean, this is a very common mistake or a perception that students have. Okay, let me put 2 3 strengths. I am very good in communication, I am very good in presentation skills, I am a very good negotiator. I know I would rate myself in Java and Python in a scale of 10, I would rate myself 8. Now, anybody quoting, right? That's another example I'm taking. Anybody quoting that, this could be in the CV or in the interview, right? If the interviewer is asking, how would you rate yourself in Python as a skill set? And if you're saying 8 out of 10, which means that you are excellent. You are excellent in Python. Then the interviewer's questions will be accordingly very, very tough, right? Because you rated yourself. It's a self-rating you had given already, right? If you are told I am okay, if you know about your strengths in Python and you're saying, okay, there are so much to learn in Python as a programming language, so I would rate myself 5 out of 10. Then the interviewer knows that you are very realistic, okay? And the interviewer would actually soften his questions accordingly, right? He might start with some basic questions of Python and maybe some intermediate questions. So that's why it's important for you to realize your potential, how much you know, how much you don't know. Okay, sometimes it's very, very important for us to realize how much we don't know. That's an ocean, right? Okay, so with that note, I will go back to this. Uh, so one is your candidature, your CV, and being true to yourself. And next is, there is always this tug of war between academics and extracurricular activities, right? Now, you like it or not, right? For employers, one of the important criteria is to look into your academics, right? You might be an excellent programmer. You might be a person who has consistently presented papers, okay, in various seminars. But if your academics is very, very less, if you're, when I said academics, I'm talking about the marks that you score, right? The aggregate mark you get end of your fourth year. Now, imagine I have 100 openings, 100 software engineers I need, right? I am coming to Johnson's, okay? Now, how many people are attending my interview? 1,000 people, just as an example, right? But I need only 100 out of 1,000. So again, supply, demand. Demand is less, supply is more. And I have only one day. I will come to Johnson's only one day. I'm not going to spend 5 days hiring, interviewing all 1,000, right? So what would be my natural filter as an employer? I have to do a filtering mechanism, right? I will filter by academics, okay? Because 4 years you are studying in the college, okay? 4 years you've been taught various subjects in computer science, right? There are so much of practical experiences and exposures you would have got, okay? Be through projects or through various other activities. Now, in 4 years, either you should have scored really well in academics, right? Or your percentage is very less, say 55 percentage is your total score end of the fourth year, but you have very significant extracurricular activities to support your case, right? You would have presented so many papers across various prestigious institutes, and you would have won a lot of laurels for Johnson's, right? So one of it should be there, because you are there for a purpose, 4 years, right? Now imagine a student who are not very good in academics, which is still understandable, right? Not every one of us are different individuals. I might not be very good in academics, but I might be very good in extracurricular, right? Extracurricular is not only restricted to paper presentation, it could be completely organizing the college fest, right? As a secretary or a chairman of the association, right? Now, imagine a student who's not good in academics, not good in extracurricular, and that person is nowhere there. That person still have some strengths, okay? But the strength that person did not realize in all 4 years. That's the unfortunate part of his story, right? Why would an employer choose that individual who is not good in academics, neither good in academics nor in extracurricular, as against 20 other people in front of me? I am going through the CV and I see, okay, 10 people have scored 90 percentage. They are class toppers, right? Or college toppers or department toppers. Those 10 is the first one I wanted to interview, right? And similarly, I go through the rest of the CVs and I see, okay, these 10 people are not good in academics, which is fine, but they have wonderfully done some projects or they have presented 5 papers, right? So they have taken, or somebody is absolutely a district level cricket player, represented Johnson's across Tamil Nadu, right? That talks, extracurricular talks. Because of these extracurricular activities, I haven't really got enough time to concentrate on my academics. It is a good justification to give, right? So I might still select these 10 people who are in that category. So please understand that the employer has 1 day or maximum 2 days in his hand, right? When we visit the campus or when we are interviewing the candidate off campus, whatever may be the case. But I have 1,000 CVs with me. I need only 100 people. So for me to select 100 people, I would only want to interview 200 candidates, right? So, and for me to interview 200 candidates, I would only call a maximum of 500 people for group discussion, right? So look at the elimination process which I do, right? I have 1,000. I am straight away eliminating 500 basis their academics marks and the extracurricular. Now you might think that it is unfortunate, but that's a reality, right? So 500 eliminated at a CV level. Why? No strong academics, no strong extracurricular, or not many projects that you've done, right? 500 gone. Now I have 500 more. Again, I have to do a filtering. Okay, I do a group discussion, right? What do I expect in a group discussion? I expect communication skills, teaming skills, which I have already spoken about, leadership skills, content that you bring in a group discussion. If I conduct a group discussion and give a topic on how is what are the impacts of corona in engineering colleges across India or in Tamil Nadu, very relevant topic for you, right, as students. Who is bringing me more pointers? Who is bringing me the content that I am expecting in this topic for group discussion? That determines whether I want to select him or her from the group discussion for interviews, right? So that's an elimination round again. Unfortunately, it's an elimination round. Now, some of you might be introvert, right? In a group, you have a problem in speaking. With 10 people, you have a problem. But as an individual, if I meet you one to one, you will strike a very good conversation with me. So one to one, you are very good. In a group, you are not good. Is that a good situation to be in? The answer is unfortunately no. We need people who are already to an extent trained on working in teams and speaking to people and communicating what they want to communicate in a group, even if it is a tough message, right? So those are some of the skills that if you have already developed, well and good, just further improve it. If you are a person who is very shy and who in a group you will go silent, find ways in smaller groups. Catch hold of some of your trusted friends, have a group discussion only with them to start with, right? I'm telling you that is the best method for you to come out of your silos, come out of your introvert feeling or less confidence that you feel, right? Catch hold of 2, 3 good friends, have some group discussions on some random topics, improve your confidence levels, improve your listening skills through that. And when you improve your confidence skills, I am telling you, you will be very good when you start communicating in a group, right? So that's a very important aspect which I wanted to leave with. uh, I have already touched upon some of these aspects. So just to tell you, I am almost in the last 2 3 slides. So in another 10 minutes I'll be done. I am then open to questions. So there are two aspects that I'm trying to cover here, right? One is, I have already covered, what is it in you, right? How are you projecting yourself as a brand, right? Like an iPhone brand. I just took the example of iPhone, right? Two is whether your CV that you're preparing is a true reflection of yourself. I gave you examples. I gave you examples of I4 details. I gave you examples of the mistakes that you can make in your CV which will go against you, right? Completely avoidable, right? Take your time to reflect on your personality, your skill sets, your strengths, okay? The differentiating factor that you have in you, right? I don't know how many people are in this webinar, but if there are, assume if there are 200 people in this webinar, each one of you has your strengths and weaknesses, right? The employer acknowledges it. The employer knows it that each one of you are different, but whether you are able to bring in that differentiator is a key question. It should reflect in your CV. It should reflect in your personality when you speak to the employer, right? So one part is the CV preparation, and because that's the first step that gives the personality of the individual in a way, right? So then, like I said, I gave an example of 1,000 CVs and 500 for group discussion, 200 for interviews, and so on and so forth. I missed mentioning about this written test, psychometric test. Again, this is a standard filtering process that any employer would have, right? Going back to the same example, if there are 1,000 students that I have and I have only 100 to choose from 1,000, I will do a CV screening. I will do a written test. I am talking about a technical written test, right? Now, you are studying 4 years in a college, right? Studied various papers. In the written test, there will be some basic expectations, right? Okay, that could be an analytical test, that could be a logical reasoning test, that could be a computer engineering related test, right? There are various sections. Now, as a student of computer science engineering, the basic expectation from an IT employer would be that you should know the basics. Now, that basics is what will reflect in the written technical test which is given to you, right? Okay, if you are absolutely faltering in the basic, okay, which means that there is a question mark on what have you studied in 4 years, unfortunately, right? So that's you. I don't want any of you in that situation. Okay, first thing you should do is strengthen your basics. Now, what do I mean by basics? Okay, you will have subjects, right? You have different papers. Now, in fourth year, you will have many computer science subjects. If I'm right, the curriculum for third and fourth year will be more of computer engineering papers, and first and second year could be more of other papers as well, right? As I understand. Now, if all the papers that you studied in fourth year computer science engineering, okay, questions will be from those, especially in that computer engineering section, right? In our written test, right? Any employer for that matter. Simple questions which are very, very basic in nature, as basic as what is Java, whether it is an object oriented programming or something else. It will be multiple choice, right? Okay. Now, if anybody is answering this question wrong, they are out clearly, right? Okay, from the interview process. So that is what I'm talking about, basics. There are certain things which you can't go wrong and you should never go wrong. So strengthen your basic, right? Second, there is a psychometric test that many employers do, some don't do, some do, okay, which reflects your personality, true personality. I gave you some examples of personality, but it's important. Psychometric test, the important point here is that be true to yourself. Okay, I will give you an example of how people fail in psychometric tests that we conduct, right? What is the technique here? The employer is trying to analyze whether you are answering some questions to the best of your knowledge, or in some questions whether you are lying, right? So in the first question, it would ask, I'm just giving you an example of a psychometric test question, right? It would say, uh, are you a party animal? Do you enjoy going to parties? Okay, now you might be a very introvert person. Okay, uh, so you would still think, okay, now if I answer this question as no, I am not, I am very shy in going to parties and attending parties, then the employer might reject me. So let me say yes. Okay, let me say yes. So you've completely changing your personality. You are an introvert, but you're saying that I am an extrovert, right? In this question, fine. In the 15th question that you attend, the same question you answered as yes, you would end up answering no. Okay, that question would have been in a different. That question would have been asked in a different fashion. Okay, here the first question is a direct question. Are you a party animal? You said yes, which you are not. In the 15th question, it would have been asked in a different fashion. You would say no. So, and both the questions are actually linked, and you would get rejected. So this is the crux of the psychometric test. You remember, any psychometric test you go through in an interview process, the simple logic that you should remember always is that be true to yourself. They are not, any employer is not testing you on whether you know everything or not. Employer is testing whether you are true to yourself. It's as simple as that, right? Group discussion, I have already spoken about what are the expectations of a group discussion in terms of the content that you bring in, and so on and so forth. Then comes your two key interviews. One is the behavioral interview or a HR interview, and a technical interview. Now, this in itself is a big topic which I can talk for a day, but my simple question, or the logic which I want to tell you in an interview is, okay, these in an interview you should avoid these common mistakes. Okay, people are not actually, the employer would never expect that you should answer all the questions. Okay, you should take that out from your mind. You have cleared written test, you have cleared group discussion, which means that you are halfway through in the process. So you have some stuff in you which have made you to clear group discussion and written test, right? In the interview, which is a very, very critical part of the selection process, don't make these mistakes which I have listed here. What you claim versus what you are, right? Interview questions can be very twisted. Okay, it will confuse you. People will make you to tell the wrong answer. Be true to yourself. I repeat that point again. If you're claiming that you know Python, you know Python, right? If your self rating on Python is 6 out of 10, be sure that the interviewer is going to stick to those parameters and ask you questions on Python, intermediate questions, right? If you're claiming that you are absolutely superb in Python and you are giving a self rating of 9 out of 10, be sure that you are going to be grilled on Python in the interview, right? So what you claim versus what you actually are should match. Okay, that is where you need to, you would never overcommit. You would never say my self rating for Python is 9 if you are not really sure. So just keep it intermediate, keep it basic, right? So when sometimes when you undercommit and over deliver, you are in, right? Okay, so that's the point I want to drive. Questions you don't know, there is a tendency for students to go beat around the bush, okay, to still answer the question which you don't know. Why are you doing that? You need not do that at all. Questions you don't know, you just simply say I don't know. That's it. Because the employer is not expecting all answers from you, right? So again, linked to true to yourself. And Never ever try to be somebody else. The bigger problem in a college setup is that you have so many comparisons which keeps happening, right? 10 people, like I said in the beginning of my conversation, 10 people are good in programming. Now, don't imitate that person. You see what your strength is and play with your strength, right? Don't ever, I mean, never ever try to be somebody else. You can't fit into somebody else's shoes. It's as simple as that, right? Then, no proven learning ability. If you're not able to demonstrate, you are in the college for 4 years, right? First year to fourth year. If you're not able to demonstrate with evidence few learning abilities that you had, I mean, your learning abilities through the 4 years, you are actually out, right? If you're not even able to give a simple example of what have you learned new in the fourth year, okay, it's not going to help your case in getting a job. So these are the four common mistakes as per me you should avoid and you should keep in mind and work towards it, right? So let me, okay. So I do want to take the last 5 minutes. I hope Vivek, we do have some time. Vivek, if you're around, just want,
Sorry, sir.
you have the last 10 minutes or we are very late?
Actually, yeah, we may continue, sir. We may continue.
Okay, I'll try to wrap up in the next 5 minutes dot,
Sure,
and
sure.
maybe another 5 minutes for Q&A if anyone has any questions. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So the last part of my presentation here I want to touch upon is etiquette. Right now, this is yet another topic for a day, for a different day, but this in itself is a huge topic. There are different types of etiquettes, as you know. There is social etiquette, there is business etiquette, there is dining etiquette, right? How do you dine in a corporate setup with colleagues? There is dress code etiquette, right? So these are, I mean, there are various different etiquettes, okay, and advanced etiquettes are also there. But I am going to just stick to dress code etiquette. Next 5 minutes, I'm going to wrap up. This is my last slide, and this is a very interesting slide. I would actually want to spend more time, but maybe for another day. But this is what I'm just putting up here. Okay. Why am I putting this up? I will give you a simple reason related to campus to corporate transition, right? If you are not practicing some of these dress code etiquettes, which I'm going to explain to you now, okay, it's very difficult for you to, give that head start. You will not get that head start, right? When you actually come into corporate. That's why I'm putting up here quickly to pick up for male, right? For male, what are some of the basic things that you should really be aware of? I'm sure your college also might have some discipline around this, but some of these points I just want to go through quickly. One is, people expect in a corporate setup or even in a campus for that matter, a person with a well groomed hair, right? Okay, this is a basic etiquette, right? Now, there is always this point on beard and mustache that you have, right? Now, if you are attending an interview, either you should be absolutely clean shaven, or if you have a beard, very well, you look good, you want to keep a beard, keep it, but trim it. Okay, absolutely clearly trim it so that your beard is not uh, you know here and there, and that is a disturbance for the interviewer, right? It might not be a disturbance for you because you are living with it, right? But it is a disturbance for the interviewer, and the interviewer is meeting with the for the first time, and first impressions are best impressions that you can create, right? So that is why this etiquette is there. It's important for you to trim your beard. It's important for you to have well groomed hair. Now, there is quality tie and how you should wear tie. I would suggest there are enough of Google videos, YouTube videos on this, okay, and where the tie should come, and from the neck till where it is till the tip of the belt, right? The tie that you're wearing, okay, in a professional setup, it should just touch the belt. That's it. It should not be below the belt, it should not be above the belt, it should just touch the belt. That is a correct way of wearing the tie. Now, if you decide, okay, I have 4 years in my hand, interview is only fourth year end, let me buy a tie only during just 2 days before the interview. Let me practice wearing the tie. I'm telling you, on the day of interview, you will lose confidence because you are never used to wearing tie, right? That will become a very irritation for you with the tie you attending the interview, and you never wore a tie in your life before, right? So through the years, I would request buy some good ties, okay, which are contrasting with the shirt color. Okay, if it is a white color shirt that you're going to wear, pick up a contrasting color which could be a black tie or a gray tie, which is a perfect match, and practice. Okay, practice makes a man perfect, which we all know, no brainer, right? So one important point is tie should just touch the belt. That's a correct way of wearing the tie. Contrasting shirt and pant. Now the shirt and the pant that you're wearing can't be the same color, right? It can't be red and red, right? The best is to have a black pant and a white shirt. Perfect match, right? And a black tie. Okay, so that's a perfect match, and there are various other combinations, and there are enough of material which is available in YouTube and internet. I'm not getting into that, but go through it. Then the last point here is not the last point. The next one is the way in which. 1 second, 1 second. Sorry, I'm taking the webinar from my home, so there are some disturbances at home. Okay, sorry for that. So the shoes that you wear, it should be polished formal shoes and socks. Please, it's very important that you wear a socks which doesn't have a different holes in it. Okay, and the color of the socks should match with the color of the belt. Not many people are aware of it. So I'm just talking about the combinations and the dress code etiquette, right? The color of the socks should match with the color of the belt that you're wearing. It's important. And how do you handshake? I mean, obviously, I can't, show it in a webinar, but if it is a classroom session, I would have shown you different types of handshakes and what it means, because body language is 80% of what you communicate. What you communicate verbally is just 20% with the interviewer. So there are different ways of handshake, but a firm handshake with an interviewer or an employer is very important. It tells the employer that you are very confident, right? And men can't wear earrings when they're going for interviews, right? And it's always good to have a nice watch and a pen in your shirt pocket when you're going for the interview, right? So these are some of the basics which are there, and I only touched upon basics. This is the ocean in itself in terms of dress code. Similarly, the female, for the female gender, again, well groomed hair, limited jewelry. Now, this again goes back to an important point of how you can avoid irritation for you and irritation for the interviewer, right? And if you are not a person who has, if you are a person who wear generally heavy jewelry, okay, in the interview, when you go and attend an interview, you don't do that, right? Okay, because there are reflections from the jewelry which comes in, which might be an irritant for the interviewer, right? Similarly, a heavy jewelry might even pain your neck when you're talking in an interview for an hour, right? You might be at your comfort best, right? So you should avoid heavy jewelry when you're attending an interview. Well groomed hair, and for women there are various other options. You can go, you can wear sari, which is the best Indian dress, which is considered very, very formal and elegant, which you can choose to wear. And there are various other Indian formals as well. Again, I would suggest do a YouTube search. There are enough materials available. Okay, and Western dresses. Now the shoes again, right? High heels should be avoided, and especially if you are not used to wearing high heels, don't ever wear it on the day of interview. It's going to be very, very uncomfortable for you, right? And no perfumes when you are attending the interview, because it is there, it might be the interview might have certain allergy because of that perfume, right? So you're putting off the interviewer because you have put a perfume which is creating some sort of irritant for the interviewer, right? And earrings again can't be big. It can be a stud earring when you are attending an interview. I think so. These are some of the points which I want to hear. Why I'm putting this slide as part of campus to corporate transition. If you practice it now, it's easy for you in fourth year, especially the people who are in first, second, third year. You practice some of this, invest some money in some of these items now, right? There's nothing wrong. I'm sure if you justify this to your parents, they would, I'm sure, listen. So if you invest some money now, it will become a practice and your personality grooming will happen right now, rather than purchasing some of these things only for the interview, which will make you more comfortable, right? Which will make you more uncomfortable, sorry. So with that, I put this uh, attitude. This is called attitude. Those of you who can read this, okay. This is Dilbert, the famous cartoon comic, corporate comic, right? So it says it's a campus interview which is happening, and this candidate or the interviewee is saying that it's funny that you are judging me. My engineering knowledge is current and yours is ancient. So the candidate is telling the interviewer about it, and then he realizes that okay, I actually forgot my people skills, right? This is an attitude issue with this candidate. So never ever have a wrong attitude or wrong work attitude in your life, or you know, anywhere in your life, right? Always be humble, and it's time to implement some of the things that I've spoken about. And thank you. With that, I'm done with my webinar, and I'll be happy to answer any questions which you have. Vivek, I am through with my
Yes, sir.
presentation.
Yes, sir. Actually, we got a couple of questions from participants where I posted in public chat.
Okay.
I think you may check
Okay. So somebody is
regarding the
saying would.
beard and then whether we have to wear any branded shoots for the interview, right?
Okay. Sure. So that's a good question. Would beard disturb the interviewer if the beard is not really trimmed, right? Because people will have different styles when we keep beard, right? We all love keeping beard, right? But if it is sort of not trimmed properly, you are giving an opportunity for the interviewer to, in his mind, he would form a different personality before even you start speaking with the interviewer, right? Why are you giving that opportunity to an interviewer by your look? Okay, so there is a certain business etiquette, dress code etiquette, which is accepted as a norm. So follow that. That's all I am saying. Trim your beard, you can keep it. And that's one question. Second is whether we need to go with some branded suits for interview. Uh, See, branded suits might be expensive. If it's a one-time investment. There is nothing wrong in doing an investment on a branded suit. It's going to be there for 7-8 years, right? Your the confidence levels and the grooming. If you're going with a branded suit, that much the interviewer will realize that okay, you are groomed already as a person, right? Your technical skills are there, it's a given. You studied 4 years engineering, there are certain basics which are already there. But if you're going with a branded suit, you gain more confidence. Many of the students who have presented papers would have realized, right? When you go in formal shirts and tie for a paper presentation, your confidence level is generally more as compared to a casual dressing. So hence branded suits is an added advantage. Any other questions coming in, Vivek?
No, sir.
Great. I think if there are no other questions, then we can sort of wind up the session. Vivek?
Yeah, sure, sir. I think that's it. The questions from the participants. And, we started to receive feedback from the participants.
Okay.
I think okay. So thank you, sir. Thank you so much for this wonderful session. So surely this will be helpful for our not only for final year students but also for the students from all the years. which will be helpful for them to groom themselves before going for an interview. Very nice and informative session, sir. And almost we received feedback around from 150 participants for this session, and we received a very good feedback from all the participants.
That's
So,
nice to hear. Nice to hear, Vivek.
thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, and thanks again, once again, to Johnson's management, Dr. Veloidam and Vivek. You've been
Sure.
really helpful
Thank you.
in coordinating this, facilitating this, and thank you so much for the entire, all the participants and the staff alike for being patient with me. I know we have short on time. It's 1 o'clock. Thank you so much again for all of you, and wishing you all the very best. And if there are any offline questions, I would request the students routed to Vivek. I can offline answer it on mail, or I can do something like that. Yeah. Thank
Sure,
you.
sir.
Thank you.
Sure,
Yeah.
sir. And once again, I apologize for the technical issues happened in our side. And once again, thank you on behalf of Janssens Institute of Technology and Department of Computer Science and Engineering. Thank you so much for this wonderful session on this Saturday. Thank you,
Most
sir.
welcome. Most welcome. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.